Yeah.
What the
Mm. Mm.
watched civil rights be taken away, you've watched abortion rights be taken away, and this election was at first, a fight for our democracy. Now, at any time more than now, it's underscored. Ruth Bader Ginsburg made enormous, enormous strides on the court. Being the second female on the court after Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah.
Um, and then now, we have two other females on the court, Elaine Kagan and Justice Sotomayor, and with the vice president promising to put the first um, black, classified black person, female, on the court. Um, this is a hard moment, and especially even on Rosh Hashanah. So Shana Tova to everyone, but this is tough.
Yeah.
When you talk about the notorious RBG, this was sorry. This is not
That's all right.
this is not
No
something
worries.
that we expected to happen 44 days before the election.
Right.
I'm lucky, to be on the phone banks and making the calls and getting information out there. Hello, Peter from Seattle. Hello. Um, it's I don't know what these calls are going to be like.
Mm.
I don't know what the temperature of the Democratic Party will be like. I don't know what the temperature of young voters who, for the first time, were getting educated in terms of the caste system of the United States that we live in terms of being classified in these boxes of white, black, and other,
Right.
in terms of the civil rights and civil liberties that you're with, not having to fight for voting rights, not having to, you know, fight for the right to equal. Kavanaugh was scary. What does a Ruth Bader Ginsburg replacement look like?
Mm.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
What does if you now, if you unfortunately have to go in front of a federal judge, 1 out of 4 will be a Trump appointee. Now, if you challenge that all the way to the Supreme Court, you have a stacked Trump
Right.
court. And let's outline what a Trump court is seeming to be like. A Trump court is seeming to be, and a Trump justice system and a Trump presidency is seeming to be, if you pay me, I'll help you.
Yeah.
And that's not what the justice system is supposed to be about. The justice system is not supposed to bend for the wealth, it's not supposed to bend for the rich. It's not supposed to bend for people who the president favors.
Yeah. And I think to your point, as we think about the legacy of RBG, as we think about what she leaves behind and the mission that she has tasked us with, it is about fighting for the people. And, we say all the time, this is the most consequential election of our lifetime. But that could not be put in any more stark contrast than it is right now. That everything hangs in the balance. In my view, it's already an indictment of our system that a woman in her 80s was the thing we were clinging to as like the last shred of democracy before everything falls apart. That we have to place all of our faith in someone who should be able to retire in peace tells us that the system is broken already. And I guess I'm just in a place, if you weren't motivated to vote yesterday, if you weren't motivated to vote at the beginning of today, I hope you find your motivation in this
For the,
moment.
for the first time, I had said this a while ago. For the first time, fear was on the ballot for the Democratic Party. Um, Fear always seemed to be on the ballot for Republicans. The fear of a black man in office. The fear fuck Antifa is, the fear of that. Um, and the interesting thing about Antifa is Antifa means anti-fascist. So whoever's
Right.
against Antifa,
So if you're an
I'm, I'm,
anti-fascist,
I'm just really interested to know what you stand for. But
and it's not
beyond
really a
that,
question anymore. We've got secret police in the streets of Portland. It's all out in the open.
and it is all out in the open that we are this close, and we view ourselves as a country. But let's remember what we are. We are a republic. We are the United States of America. And these United States come together under one constitution. Those states can succeed.
Oh. Hmm. Did we lose you? I'm not sure. We might have lost Zeke. I'm not sure. Um, but I feel like the words that Zeke you were sharing, if you're still with us, the words that you were sharing are so poignant because we really are at this sort of crossroads between a world that RBG imagined was possible and the world that we see today, and this blatant, brazen hypocrisy, this idea that that we can say one thing and do another the next day. You've got Mitch McConnell who is told us in 2016 that the American people should have a say in their next Supreme Court justice, and then you've got a Mitch McConnell today who said whoever it is that Donald Trump nominates is going to get a hearing, going to get a vote on the Senate floor. So I feel like what's at stake is truly a set of values that we share. It really is the future of our country, um, and in my view, it is what RBG's life work was all about. It really is about fighting for the things, for the values that she espoused for her entire career. She talked about women's rights from day one. She talked about everyone being treated as equal. She talked about protecting the civil rights of the most marginalized among us. All of those things are at stake right now. And when I think about a world without RBG, not only does my heart ache in many ways, I think the same as Zeke, but my heart aches for all of us. My heart aches for all those people who put their faith in her, who put their faith in this country and the things that we stand for in the court, in our governmental structure, for whom RBG was the last refuge in an age that seems to be deteriorating quickly. My heart is with all of them. My heart breaks with all of them. My heart breaks for all of us. So I feel like Zeke captured that really well. I feel like, I don't know, maybe Zeke is, let me check to see if he's still in the chat. I'm going to try to add Zeke back in. Wanted to give him plenty of space to share. I had set up tonight a call with some organizers here in Florida. I am in Orlando, but the organizers were down in the Tampa Bay area, and they wanted me to connect with them on on the importance of the work that they were doing, on the importance of grassroots organizing. I had a really positive thing to share with them tonight. I had some positive words to share with them, and then the news came in right before that, and I reevaluated and I thought about, what do we say in this moment? What do we do in this moment, in the darkest hour? And what I shared with them was this: in 2016, my life changed forever. I did something so ordinary. I went to the club with my best friends. Um, and in every way possible, hey, Zeke, welcome back. Do we have you, Zeke?
I am so sorry.
No, that's all right. No worries at all.
So where
I
were
was
we?
just Yeah, I was just sharing with folks that a little bit about my personal story and why this is resonating so much with me. Before 2016, I wasn't involved. I wasn't engaged politically. I think the extent of my civic engagement was really like posting angrily on Facebook or hosting drunk presidential debate parties. Um, and then June 12th of 2016 changed everything when I did what I always did. I went to the club with my best friends. We chose Pulse nightclub almost at random that day, and everything about it was ordinary until 2 o'clock in the morning. A man charged in armed with a weapon of war and killed 49 people, including the two people that I love the most in the world. And what I learned in that moment was that if we allow it, hatred and violence and fear can beat us into submission. They can silence us. That is their intent, is to tire us from the fight before us. But I also learned that we overcome that hate and that violence and that fear when we stand together, when we challenge ourselves to live up to the values of the people who aren't with us anymore, and when we refuse to leave anyone behind. So for me, that's what's going to get me through this moment. I'm going to, have my emotional kind of
Are
catharsis. I'm
you
going to
so
cry. I'm going to be
are you
angry, but
sad or are you angry? See, because I'm angry.
I'm all of it. I'm all of it.
I one of the founders, or I don't know what to call him, but Jack Fury, shouts to Jack.
Hmm.
He told me to cry,
Yeah.
and I can't cry. All I can do is feel tense, anger, fear. Jack wants to clarify that he's not a founder. Okay, well, I'm going to clarify that I'm the majority stockholder. um, this is a scary time, and I don't want to diminish that, but also just like you, I do want to truly let people know that we have been through this before. If you look at history, we have been through this before. In America, this is a little newfound territory, but throughout history, we have been here before. And the American experiment of democracy can survive if we all participate.
That's right. And that's what she would want, right? And that's why you ask, am I angry or am I sad? I'm both. I'm sad for our country. I'm sad for RBG's family. I'm sad for the incredible loss and grief that we're feeling today. I'm angry that we don't have a better system that could allow us to find peace without having to rely on one woman in her 80s to hold us
Are
all
we
together. I'm
helpless?
angry.
Are we helpless as a society?
No,
Like,
I don't think so.
is that where we are now?
No, we're not helpless. But I do think that we need to challenge each other to find strength. I think it's too easy to give in to, our worst instincts, to the things that people want us to prey on. Again, I come back to this idea that when I experienced hate and violence and bigotry of the worst kind, I was supposed to crumble. That was the intent. I was supposed to fall apart. And the refusal to do that was a protest against a system that told me I should fall into a million pieces. And I feel like we're in the same moment where fear and violence and hatred would have us believe that there is no hope, that we should crumble and fall apart. But I know that the only way we get through this is if we resist that and we push forward and we fight in honor of RBG. And that's really all I have to hold on to.
There is actually people demonstrating, Jack, and I'm going to go walk into it.
I love it.
I'm going to put on my mask.
Can you give us the live of what's happening? Oh, I love this mask.
Right, girl? You can see my lips. Yes.
I love this mask.
Mask for mask.
Yeah. Okay. So
All
give
right,
us
so
maybe.
I'm going to take you.
Yeah. Give us a
Hold
peek
on.
of what's going on out there.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I had to lock my car. Antifa's on the prowl.
Okay. So we're in Los Angeles or New York City? Where are
We
we?
are in New York City.
Okay. So we're going with Zeke in New York City. Apparently there's some demonstrations.
There's a vigil. No, it
There's a
doesn't really
vigil.
look like a
Okay.
demonstration. It looks like a lot of people with some candles that I'm going to walk towards.
Okay. So we've got a vigil going on. People obviously mourning and grieving the loss of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
People are shocked. People are actually shocked.
I believe that. Yeah.
So,
And Zeke, as you get there,
Sir.
it's yeah.
How do you feel about Ruth?
I'm devastated right now, to be honest. I don't know how this country is going to undo the damage that will happen if Donald Trump is able to push through any of his nominees. I'm just at a loss for words.
Hey, how do you guys feel about Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Talk. You see that?
So if you're just joining us or you're tuning in, we've got Zeke is on the ground in New York City. People are hosting vigils in honor of RBG. We've already heard from one person on the ground feeling scared about what's next. Certainly feeling scared if Donald Trump is able to win and get another 4 years. We're already going to have to battle back against Mitch McConnell, who wants to have a Senate vote for a replacement justice.
What will that vote mean? I was listening to Secretary Clinton, and she's saying, there are measures we can do to delay, and we shouldn't go down with a fight. But what can we really do?
Yeah, it's a good question. What I think Mitch McConnell is potentially underestimating is just how vulnerable GOP members are. So in the last month, we've heard from Lisa Murkowski, we've heard from Susan Collins, we've heard from Mitt Romney. In the last 2 years, we've heard from Lindsey Graham, all of whom have said they will not they will not go through with the vote. They won't vote to approve or confirm a Supreme Court justice. So I think he's underestimating the power of just how vulnerable these people are. Lindsey Graham is locked in a dead heat in South Carolina. He could very well lose his seat, and tossing him a Supreme Court vote with 46 days to the election is probably the worst thing, because that puts his seat in jeopardy.
Oh, you're just giving me agita.
Well, I think if people are walking away with anything they can do, you need to be on the phone to Lindsey Graham. You need to be on the phone to Susan Collins and Mitt Romney, and Toomey and Lisa Murkowski. You got to be on the phone to these moderate Republicans.
Did you say Toomey? Like
Toomey.
the backpack company?
Close. But people need to be on the phone to these vulnerable Republican senators who are facing uphill battles. We have to be on the phone. And the reality is this: if you're going to confirm a Supreme Court justice, Mitch McConnell, if you're going to put one through, then you can expect President Joe Biden to stack the court and put 11 justices on there.
Do you think that is what I believe that's what needs to happen anyway?
Yeah, I agree.
Term limits and people being able to, they don't want to talk to me. People being able to, Jack, it's kind of hard without, I need a press badge. I need one of them HAPS press badges. Everybody's looking at me like this black guy with a phone is not, no. Antifa.
No, but I think, to your point.
Hi, what do you guys think of Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
What?
I'm live on HAPS News right now. What do you guys think of Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
I loved her.
You loved her?
Yeah.
Can you say anything else? Here, I'll show you. We're live on HAPS News.
I fucking hate that Trump's gonna replace her.
Well, we're not going to let that happen.
Thank you.
So it sounds like, it sounds like so far what I'm hearing is common sense.
People are mad.
That people are worried. People are worried that Trump will replace her.
People are mad. People are mad. People are mad.
So what are you seeing? Are there crowds of people? And can you tell us where in New York City you are?
I'm walking towards the meatpacking district. I've walked away. There were people walking towards, I believe, was Union Square. I walked the opposite direction, unfortunately. But now I'm just stopping people on the street. I had a prior engagement, is why I'm walking in the opposite direction. But it's hard, as people are saying. It's hard.
It is.
It's hard.
But I do think, again, you were asking, what can we do? And do we need to stack the court? I think the answer is yes. We need more Supreme Court justices. We need to depoliticize the court. But I think that right now what we need from Democratic leaders is a very clear answer. And that is, Mitch McConnell, if you hold a vote and you confirm a Supreme Court justice, President Joe Biden will stack the court with 11 justices. He'll move from 75 to 100 on the federal benches. There will be a flood of justices into the court to depoliticize what is a politicized process that shouldn't be. And on top of that, you will likely lose the Senate. You will force Democrats out in numbers you can't possibly imagine. And you will lose the Senate. So is it really a winning venture for you to push through a single Supreme Court nominee knowing what the backlash will be, especially when you're the one who wrote the rules?
Definitely not. Definitely not. Well, I think that, if you're up for it, I would... Hello?
Uh-oh. Did I lose you again? Are you back?
I'm here. Sorry.
It's okay.
I keep getting close to where I'm supposed to be and then hopping onto their Wi-Fi. But anywho, I would love to go live with you tomorrow after digesting this more.
Yeah,
Um, seriously.
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
let's speak tomorrow then, and we will
Okay.
do this some more. Thank you, everybody from HAPS.
Appreciate you. Be
All right,
well. Take the time you need.
I will.
Okay. And there you have it. It was great to have Zeke. I feel like he put a lot of things in perspective for us in terms of how people are feeling. I think he feels the way most of us do right now. That we're afraid, we are sad, we're grieving, we're angry. I think we're angry that we're in a position um, that this loss feels like such a gut punch that it almost feels like we don't even have time to mourn RBG the way she should be mourned because we have to pick up her fight um, and carry it forward. Um, the question that we have to ask ourselves now is how do we honor RBG? I titled this live Honoring RBG, and we talked a lot about emotions and we connected with folks on the ground in New York City, asking them how they're feeling. But the question is, how do we honor RBG? And I think the answer for me is very simple. We continue to fight for a world where no matter who you are, no matter who you love, no matter how you identify, no matter how you worship or where you come from, that you belong in this great country. We hear a lot about make America great again, but what makes America great is the part where everyone finds a sense of belonging here. The part where this country acts as a refuge for people who couldn't find safety and shelter elsewhere. And if we are going to honor RBG, if we are going to do her memory, her legacy justice, we have to keep up the fight to protect those values. When I think about RBG and what she stood for, when I think about the conversations she had about women's rights, when I think about the conversations she had about LGBTQ rights, when I think about her understanding of who we are as a people and how we leverage our freedoms and our Constitution to ensure that we don't leave anyone behind, I'm inspired by the fact that that wasn't just RBG's fight. We may have found an incredible amount of inspiration in her. We may have sourced a lot of confidence from her. But the reality is, she embodied much of the fight that all of us are waging every single day. The fight doesn't end because RBG isn't here anymore. The fight carries on. And if anything, she is fuel for our fight. When I got on social media after hearing the news, I was a little bit curious and worried about what I would find. I was thinking about other moments in history when we've lost someone dear to us and what social media looked like. I was worried that I would see despair, that I would see hopelessness. I was worried that people would be down and out, that they would be giving up. But what I saw and what I continue to see and hear from folks like Zeke is exactly what I hoped would happen. I've seen nothing but people finding strength and inspiration in her words. One of the things that RBG said is, you can't have it all at once. You can't have it all at once. And what she's saying when she says that is that every single one of us has a responsibility to continue the fight. Every single one of us is called upon to pick up the torch and carry it further when we lose people along the way. I shared earlier tonight that I lost the people I loved the most in 2016. And there were moments when I wanted to pull the covers over my head and never come out. I wanted to drink my body weight in whiskey and pretend like it was a nightmare that I might wake up from. But it didn't take me very long to understand that if I did that, if I pulled blankets over my head, if I pretended like it never happened, then the people that I loved would be forgotten. Their stories would never be told. In fact, I found myself terrified of the idea that the world would never get to meet them in the way that I knew them. And I'm feeling the same in the wake of the loss of RBG. You know, she also once said, fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. That's how I'm feeling tonight. I'm feeling that RBG is our guiding light. She is our inspiration. That while we grieve, and Jeff, I see you saying that you're feeling sad tonight. I'm feeling sad as well. While we grieve, RBG also is our fuel. I told Zeke earlier, if you weren't passionate about voting before tonight, I hope that you're finding that inspiration right now. If you were wondering if your voice really matters, or if things weren't exactly the way that you thought they would turn out, if you were discouraged from being a part of the process before tonight, my hope is that you found the courage to carry on. That RBG has inspired you to make phone calls, to make text messages. That RBG has inspired you to take the win and fight for more. I'm just going to keep dropping some of these quotes from RBG on you, but she once also said that real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time. And I know how frustrating that can be. I am an unashamed progressive, and that means that I frequently find myself frustrated by incrementalism. There are problems in this world that need solving today. Not 50 years from now, not 35 years from now. There are things that we should be able to coalesce around today. There are values that we share today that we should be able to make significant moves on. But you know what? Enduring change takes work. It's not about just me arguing that it should happen today. It's about me putting in the work to help get us over the finish line. My hope for everyone is that RBG's life, her legacy, the things she fought for, that is your inspiration to keep up the work. Not to resign yourself to failure, not to get frustrated or sad or angry, but rather to take the time you need to process those emotions and get up tomorrow and fight in her honor. Everything is at stake right now. Everything is at stake. We've been saying that for a long time. We've been talking about how consequential this election is. We've been crying out about the rise of fascism. We've been detailing how authoritarian Donald Trump really is. We've talked about the erosion of civil rights, the rule of law. We hear about the rule of law all the time. Seemingly everyone in Donald Trump's circle gets arrested and charged with felonies. And yet we're talking about the rule of law. We've been talking about these things for years. But they've never felt more real than right now. For me, the Supreme Court was always a singular voting issue. I can only get married because of a Supreme Court decision. Many people have health care because the Supreme Court has protected their right to have it. A woman has a right to choose what happens to her body because of a Supreme Court decision. These are not just little things. This is not something you can cast aside. Politics isn't far away. It's sitting in all of our laps. And so my hope is that in this moment, you don't succumb to despair. You don't give in to the fear of being beaten down. That when Mitch McConnell says we're going to have a vote on the floor for a nominee, you fight back. Right now, you fight back. You drown their phone lines. You send notes, you send emails, you do whatever you have to do. I will be in Washington, D.C. if I have to, sitting on the floor outside Mitch McConnell's office until he hears our voices. This is the moment to ask yourself, what are you willing to put on the line to fight for this democracy? What are you willing to risk? What privilege are you willing to lay on the line in order to protect this great nation that we've fought so hard for? RBG fought until her last breath. Her last wish was that she would not be replaced until another president was elected. She fought till the bitter end, understanding what was at stake. And now it's on all of us to take that on. It's on all of us to internalize her message, to ask ourselves, what are we willing to do to fight for this country? If you're willing to vote, I hope you're willing to donate. If you're willing to donate, I hope you're willing to volunteer. If you're uncomfortable on text message, I hope you're willing to work around it. If you're thinking that phone calls might not be for you, I hope you're willing to dedicate an hour to give it a try. Because if there was ever a time to leave it all on the line, this is the time. I'm not trying to preach at you, and I apologize for going off on a tangent there, but there's just so much at stake. And marginalized people know it well. All of us know it well, that we can't afford 4 more years of this. We can't afford Donald Trump to fill this Supreme Court vacancy. All of the things that RBG fought for are on the line right now. And all I can ask of all of you is to consider what you're willing to give to the fight. Consider how far you're willing to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. I saw, again, going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but I saw long lines in Virginia today. It's their first day of in-person early voting. And there was near record numbers of voters. You saw people across the state of Virginia talking about they've never seen a first day of early voting look like this. That's the energy we need. Maybe you don't feel comfortable voting in person. Fine. Vote by mail. Maybe you want to vote in person, but you're nervous about November 3rd. Fine. Vote early. But whatever you do, you have to play your part. You got to ask yourself, in 4 years, if we reelect Donald Trump, in 4 years, what will you say you did? Will you say you did everything you could? Will you say you left everything on the line? Will you say you cowered to fear and you allowed yourself to be scared? Or did you get up and fight? That's the choice that's before us right now. That's it right there. Again, sorry, on a tangent there. I also see we've got friends here in the chat. I don't mean to ignore you there. Hey there, thank you. Sometimes I preach once in a while, especially on days like today. You know, days like today are difficult for all of us, but I'm appreciative of the space to share with all of you and to connect with all of you. And we do, you know, I appreciate you saying that. We do it for the children. We do it for young people. They're the ones who have to live with whatever happens next. They're the ones who have to live with the effects of climate change, with rollbacks of civil rights protections. They're the ones who are living with the idea of what a post-COVID world looks like. I'm a millennial. When I left college, there were no guarantees that I would have a job. In fact, the economy had collapsed right from underneath me. All these people with bachelor's degrees, all these people who'd been told, all you have to do is push tens of thousands of dollars into your education, and all your dreams will come true. And we left college into a desert wasteland with no employment to be found. And we've scratched and we've clawed to build whatever goodness we can build for ourselves and for our families. And now here we are, we're facing it again. We're facing economic collapse. Unemployment in my city is over 11%. You go 20 minutes south, 25 minutes south of here, it's over 15%. That is what we're facing. And again, I'm bringing it back to RBG, but when I think about the legacy she leaves behind, when I think about the things she was challenging us to do, when I think about the words that and wisdom that she shared with us, it's always been about ensuring that no one gets left behind. It's always been about ensuring that we move forward together. It's always been about challenging ourselves to do better. That if we're going to all pitch in and build this big, great society together, that we should all do well. That every single one of us should thrive. That none of us should face discrimination based on who we are. That we shouldn't have to fight for the basics of human rights. She understood that to be American was to ensure that all of us are lifted up and that we didn't step on each other's backs to get where we were going. And I think that's the fight before us now. Appreciate you, Jack, jumping into the chat here. RBG said, I would like to be remembered as someone who used whatever talent she had to do her work to the very best of her ability. And that's what we'd all like, isn't it? We'd all like to be remembered as someone who was rewarded for doing the best work possible. Someone who pitched in to this great society. Someone who used their talents to make life better for all of us. And that we would all get a fair shot at a slice of it. I'm hopeful that we can create that legacy for RBG together. Feel free to jump into the comments. I'm rounding here to a close. It's 10:24 here on the East Coast. It's a Friday, and I'm getting ready to head into the weekend. But I did just want to spend a bit of time with you, honoring RBG, talking about her legacy, sharing some of the wisdom that she shared with us, and challenging everyone to rise to this occasion, because what we have before us is a unique opportunity to create a world that RBG would be proud of. I talked a little bit about my story from Pulse earlier tonight. But a few days after the shooting at the club, we held a memorial service for my best friend. And his mom asked me to be a pallbearer that day. And I remember carrying the casket down the aisle and clutching the side really tightly. And I think it's because I physically didn't want to let go of my best friend until I'd found the right words to say goodbye. When we got to the front of the church, I looked down and I made a promise. And that promise was that I would never stop fighting for a world that he would be proud of. For me, that's always been about more than just one policy or one part of our community. For me, that promise has always been about a world where marginalized young people can be themselves authentically without fearing hate and retribution. For me, that's always been a world where kids go to school to learn, not to practice active shooter drills. For me, it's always been about a world where Black Lives Matter is not a political statement, but rather an affirmation of who we are. For me, that world has always been about ensuring that no one is left behind and that no matter who you are, how you love, how you worship, how you identify, that you have a place in all of this. That's always been the world that I imagine my best friend would be proud of. And as we think about honoring RBG tonight, I believe that that's the world that she would be proud of too. So my promise is, not only will I never stop fighting for a world that Drew would be proud of, I'll never stop fighting for a world that RBG could be proud of, and I will certainly never stop fighting for a world that every single one of us belongs in. So thank you so much, everyone. Grateful for you for joining us tonight. We had Zeke Thomas on. Make sure to give him a follow if you can on your social media channels. Find us on Haps, and we'll be back. Zeke and I talked about jumping on tomorrow after he's had some time to process. So stay tuned here. Appreciate all of you, and please be well. Please be well. Understand this is a moment for grief. It's a moment for mourning, and it's also a call to action. Appreciate you all.